Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the February 10th Education Committee meeting. Before we get started, I just want to sort of give a shout out to all the people who organized the ISC art show that was at the Mainline Art Center. I was able to go yesterday, I guess, was there, and it was really fantastic. There was artwork from throughout all the 10 schools, and it's just really a testament to our amazing art program. So I just wanted to thank everyone for all the work. And it was also in honor of the memory of Todd Marone. So before we get started, I'd like to ask if anyone in the audience would like to speak to an agenda item only. If you could please indicate if there's anyone who would like to. Okay. Then I will turn it over to Dr. McGinley.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. We're fitting in a few days of school between snowstorms, and we have had a couple of productive days in a row, which has been great, and a new snowstorm coming in on Wednesday evening. So hopefully we will get a full week of school in. On that note, though, I wanted to ask Megan Schaefer if she would just please let people know where we are right now in terms of use of snow days and how the calendar is going to be changing. We sent the notice out, but if you would just summarize that quickly in case anyone's seeing this on TV or viewing it on the web.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I guess first an important announcement. The first day of spring is March 20th, so it is shortly coming upon us, 38 days to be precise, so hopefully that's a good news piece. As far as days closed due to weather, we've had 6 days in this academic year, beginning with December 10th, January 3rd, 22nd, February 3rd, 5th, and 6th. We build in 2 days into our calendar, so at present we need to make up 4 of those days. We had talked, a number of people, stakeholders, contributed to the discussion about how we would do those makeup days. And right now we're scheduled to recapture March 7th, which was to be a full day professional development day, and we're going to use that as a half day for students and a half day professional day, so we get a little bit of both. On March 7th, which is a Friday, we're moving June 13th, or changing June 13th, which was originally scheduled to be a half student day and the last student day. That will become a full student day, which is a Friday. We're going to utilize Monday, June 16th, Tuesday, June 17th, and as full instructional days, and June 18th will be our last day for students, and that will be a half day. Our last day for teachers will be June 19th, and that's their opportunity to clean out their classrooms and get their grades in order. And then June 20th, at this point, will be a professional development day for instructional staff.
All that information posted now?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
Yes,
so that's where we are. And you want to ask the question about what happens if we use another day?
No.
Oh, okay.
I can answer that.
With the governor calling for a state of emergency, does that affect, I mean, is there any chance that we won't have to make up some of these days?
What I've heard to date is that they will not make a decision on that, and probably until we get a few more weeks of weather behind us, I should say. That's what I've heard, at least in the news reports. So
There have been times in the past when that we've gotten relief
Yes.
for a day or 2 or 3, but it goes back a while. We didn't get such relief last year for Sandy, did we?
yeah, it's possible, and we'll look to do that if we get in a situation where we can't recapture days and run into our summer school programming. But at this point in time, we'll just need to wait and see.
Right. Because of the summer school programming, we really need to finish up with teachers by that Friday, which is the 20th, right?
Correct.
So that's where we are. So if additional snow days are used, we are looking at spring break.
Yes, we have one more day that week.
Day.
Would be June 19th, and then we'd head back into spring break.
Right. Okay. Any other questions for Megan? And in all future calendars, we will have off the first day of groundhog season. We're not exactly sure when that is. So, Dr. Marseille, we have a number of topics to do this evening, and we'll turn the program over to you.
Thank you. Before I get started, I just want to let the board know that there will be a change in the presentation. Ms. Schaefer will give an update on the principal effectiveness after my very, very quick update with regards to where we are with our comprehensive plan, and I'm learning to use the correct language as I transfer from strategic to comprehensive. Our last presentation, we dived deeply into areas in which we were headed next several months and the work that lies ahead, and some of the key questions that will shape our conversation with obviously the board, the public, our students, and our faculty. One of the things that was extremely important was the idea around the steering committee. The group of individuals that will come together to really help synthesize all of the data that we're going to collect from surveys and from focus groups, from parents, from teachers, from community members, and begin to unpack and help put together a strategy for where the district sees itself moving in the next 10 years. If you recall this slide last time I spoke to you, it spoke to minimally what the state expects in terms of level of participation in a comprehensive plan. We're well aware as a community that the number of participants that will participate within the strategic plan or comprehensive plan far exceeds that 16. If many of you recall, or some of you might recall, that in 2009 we had over 66 individuals on that steering committee. It's a very large committee. I don't believe that we're going to have that exact number, but it will be around the 50-ish mark, and try not to go to that 66, 67 we had, but we definitely will have more than the 16 that is required. So let me tell you where we are. The board is currently reviewing and will be providing a list of board-appointed representatives that are required as part of the steering committee that the board has to appoint, and that is currently taking place, and we're looking forward to the names of those individuals that will participate so we can begin submitting letters of invitation to participate in the steering committee. LMEA was contacted, and we are currently waiting for them to nominate 6 teachers to sit on that committee. That will be coming this week as well. The administrative team has begun to put together a list of administrators that will sit on that administrative committee or the steering committee. And we also have begun the process with Ms. Savage leading that, the subcommittee for special education, and the 6 individuals that will participate in that dialogue. I wanted to put this up as dates that Ms. Savage has identified as preliminary dates where their steering committee will meet. And I know she was very deliberate and strategic around making sure that there was an array of times that would allow the most amount of participation. So those are the tentative dates that obviously we will post this on our website and make sure that if there are any subsequent changes, since we're talking about weather, that might impact that as well. The development of student and faculty surveys. I'm really excited about the student survey. I'm also excited about the faculty survey. But I want to say the student survey because I think this is before we did have large number of student participation. This comprehensive plan, we really want to make sure that every student in the district has an opportunity to voice what they see, what they like, the future of education, and where they see their schools 5 years from now or 10 years from now. And currently at the secondary level, principals are bringing together members of student government, student council to help us create a series of questions that they think middle and high school students should be asked about their experience and about what they'd like to see. not only in their school, but in the district as well. So we're excited that they're going to not only participate in focus group conversations, but help us develop some survey questions as well. And members of CIPD will help facilitate the survey questions that we'll ask for staff as well. Doug Young's team is currently working, developing our communication plan, so we're really excited and looking forward to that draft as well. And we are in the process of identifying and reaching out to organizations. And what you see on the slide is just really a small sample of organizations that we're reaching out to. Not all of them are there, so I want to caution that you might not see one there. It was just giving you an example, a flavor of who we're going to reach out to and have focused conversations with during the month of March and April as we prepare for our May 5th first meeting with the steering committee. So barring any further delays, because we did have a meeting that was unfortunately was not attended because of the weather, and we're looking for another date to reschedule that. So barring that, I'm very happy with where we are in terms of our timelines and Ms. Savage's work with the Special Education Subcommittee that's going to take place very, very quickly. So I know that was quick, but I wanted to just give you a short snapshot of where we were and where we're headed in the next 2 months.
Thank you, Dr. Mercier. Are there any questions from the board? Questions? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. So I'll
Good evening again. I have the pleasure of giving you an update of the principal effectiveness framework that PDE has helped frame for us in part, and in part is still in development. And I know you had a bit of an overview in November about the process, and so I'm here to update you as to where we are with that as far as implementation in this district goes. But even to push back or reflect a little bit further back than that, last year at this time we were talking about the teacher effectiveness model and implementing that. And if you look at this pie chart, it reflects sort of the overview of that model. And if you start with the purple box and sort of walk clockwise around that slide, you'll see the different components that we've worked through. We've done the observation and evidence with our teaching staff. We spent a good portion of our time with staff development on the Danielson framework, which we've talked to you about, and with respect to the blue box, which is the school building data, that is something we're incorporating into the teachers' overall evaluation this year. And the red and green box, which complete the cycle, so to speak, are areas that we are ourselves getting additional guidance from PD at this point in time, and so we're working through that guidance and working with teachers and incorporating that into our professional development for our teaching staff as we speak. So turning to the principal evaluation model, it has sort of followed a similar timeline for us. In other words, the act itself, the legislation that caused us to get started on this endeavor with refreshing evaluation models in the district, projected a 13-14 timeline for implementing the teachers' evaluation model and a 14-15 timeline for principals. So we have started to get a little more guidance from the state about where we stand with that. We do know that, like the teacher model with the principals, we are incorporating not only observation evidence into the final rating, but also student performance data, which will comprise 50% of a principal's overall rating. And that's divided into multiple components as well, which I'll show you in this slide. So as we just reflected on the teacher evaluation model, the principal effectiveness model follows a similar path. The purple representing the observational evidence. PDE has drafted out a framework for looking at 4 domains, which is very similar to the Danielson model, which we're using for teachers, only the domains look and sound and we'll collect evidence a bit differently for our principals. You can see that the headings include strategic cultural leadership, systems leadership, leadership for learning, and professional community leadership. So each of those domains has further definitions, which we'll look at briefly in a minute, and under that there are some components. And because this is a model that PDE has developed, it's not a nationally known model, I like the Danielson framework is for teachers. So I think it's still a developing model, and there's opportunity for the district to further enhance that model at the local level, and we'll be looking to do that together with our LMOSA leadership. So there's a lot of work to do here, but we're very similarly positioned to where we were last year with the teachers. Having the conversation, starting the conversation with our principals about what this looks like, about how we intend to implement it, and then the rest of it is driven a bit by what we're bound to by law in terms of the performance data, but we're really looking to enhance the evaluation process. Since the state has told us you're going to change it and it's going to look like this, that we're really taking advantage of this opportunity to decide how locally it's going to work better for us and give more meaningful feedback to our principals as they lead staff in the new teacher evaluation model as well. So. That is, again, a little bit more about the domains themselves, the strategic cultural leadership. I thought it might be helpful if I talked a little bit about what the I guess, primary descriptor of that domain is. The school leader will systematically and collaboratively develop a positive culture to promote continuous student growth and staff development. The leader articulates and models a clear vision of the school's culture that involves students, families, and staff. So that's relating to the overall building culture that the principal sets. The systems leadership deals more with the budgeting, staffing, problem solving, communicating expectations. So that is more of the business management component. So domain 2 covers that piece of it. Domain 3 is more of the instructional leadership component. So it's addressing the linkage of curriculum, instruction, assessment, and data on student learning. So again, that's another piece of the pie for what we would expect here in the district and what the state expects our building leaders to be doing and to be competent at. And finally, domain 4 is the professional and community leadership. So this is really how our principals are engaging with the stakeholders, including staff, students, parents, community. So that really sort of nicely ties in a lot of the major components of instructional leadership here in the district, but also what the state is recognizing as the important components of instructional leadership. So we're looking closely at that, and again, we're looking as a district what defines and characterizes exceptional leadership here in the district. And finally, I mentioned that the rubric, the domains themselves set out additional components under those domains that further clarify where the state wants us to go and what we'll be looking for in terms of further fleshing out the meaning of each of those domains. So again, this is something we're looking forward to engaging in as a district and with our leadership team. We're looking forward to additional guidance from PDE. I'm not expecting that to be forthcoming in the near future. Last year at this time, when we knew we were poised to begin the teachers' effectiveness model in 13-14, we didn't receive the final rules and regulations until June 22nd. They were due by June 30th. So similarly, I expect we'll probably be seeing those final regulations in June, which I think some of that we can reasonably anticipate what it will look like, but we'll get some further clarification probably closer to the summertime. And then the manual implementing or helping to implement those regulations wasn't issued until August 15th of last year, which was right up against the opening of school. So again, we're looking to enhance those strong components of the framework that will work for us, and we will work to implement the guidelines that we get from PD when they come to us. So that's where we are right now, and
I just want to add a couple of points.
Yes.
One of the reasons why we want to make sure that everyone's aware of this now, even though it's a 14-15 school year implementation, is our evaluation cycle for administrators begins in January. So we are already in the evaluation cycle that needs to follow this framework, and we are in the process of meeting with all the administrators to finalize their goals for the 2014 year. So for the evaluation purposes, we moved to this calendar year system in the interest of having all of the student performance data and doing a good review of how the school performed really for the previous year. So we're a little bit out of sync with what the state is expecting because we moved to that model. So the goal setting is done now with our current model, and one of the differences is that it may not address all 4 of these domains. So that's a shift that we will do in the mid-year conferences, which follows our regular system. We've always had a system of evaluating administrators, and there was always a goal-setting conference, a mid-year conference, and an end-of-year conference. This one will ensure that we're addressing kind of the broad scope of responsibilities. One of the things that you didn't mention in systems leadership is the extent to which principals are required to provide leadership and guidance for special education services. So serving as an LEA and implementing all of those things is a major role for principals and assistant principals. So there are some things that come up in this framework that really haven't been addressed unless it was a problem area. So if there was a problem area at a school about managing something, we wrote it into the plans. So we'll be transitioning to this, and we're doing work at Academic Council to help the principals and supervisors see the broad frame of this and think about how their goals transition. The other significant change is that it like the Danielson model for teachers, it places responsibility on the professional to demonstrate with evidence the quality of their work. And so principals are asked to reflect on their work in the same way that teachers have been under this model, and it will move the conferences, especially the end-of-year conference, from me or Dr. Marseille telling people how well they did, as we do currently, to them coming in really with a portfolio of evidence that says, here's my first goal, here's evidence of the progress that I'm making toward that goal, and will be a little bit more evidence, well, I'd say considerably more evidence-based in how we evaluate the principals. So.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, can I just ask, I think this is a point of clarification more than a question. I just want to make sure I'm understanding this. The evaluation rubric, which I think we have a larger copy here so I can see, that's given to us by the state. So when you say we're looking for ways of enhancing this, that's going to be happening, and then in addition, we're looking for more direction from PD. So this isn't their final. Is that correct?
Correct. There's a couple things going on. The rubric is designed to inform the evidence piece of the observation side, that 50%, the purple side we saw earlier in the presentation. And so this is a way to collect that evidence of leadership, and then
But
there's
we didn't,
also re-
but we didn't come up with
No,
this, they
this
did,
is, I'm sorry,
right?
this is a
I just want to
state,
make,
yes.
you actually said this, I just want to make sure
no,
I'm understanding.
It is a state, and there's a separate state rating tool. This is not the rating tool, this is a
And
way
that's
to-
what we're waiting for.
Yes, we
Got
do
it,
not have
okay.
the official final rating tool yet.
You did say all of this, I just
No, it's.
wanted to make sure
It's not
it
clear.
got in here, so, I'm sorry. Are there any questions by the rest of the board? Go ahead, Maureen.
Thank you. This is helpful to see. Can you explain to me a little bit about the observation piece and how often? Is it a systematic observation or once a year or twice a year for both the teachers and the principals?
Okay. For the teachers, I'll start there. You mean what we currently do with teachers? With respect to teachers either on a formal or differentiated supervision cycle, there are protocols and expectations in place that principals are doing regular informal evaluations or observations, I should say, of teachers on a regular basis. There isn't a set number. You must have this many informal observations, but there is an expectation there are multiple informal observations of all teachers, and then individuals or teachers that are on a formal observation cycle would also be subject to formal observations, which is a full class period of a sit down and observation of an entire class period. So it's a little bit different depending on the cycle that a teacher's on, but there are expectations that there are multiple observation opportunities. And with respect to principal observation, that's something that we are discussing about how we will, while there are a number of opportunities when principals are observed through building visits, building based conferences, we're looking at ways to enhance and really fine tune what observations will look like under this new model for the leadership piece.
But we do have in place certain structures that support that right now. I mean, we do, Dr. Dory and I completed the fall formal visits to each of the elementary schools where we collect evidence of the goals that they're working on. We observe things. We'll do that again in the spring. Dr. Marseille has done that with the secondary schools. We think that we need to be more deliberate about this, collecting information about specific goals. The other thing with administrators is that we go out and attend workshops that administrators do, meetings that are held at schools, and we do that as a way to monitor the quality of the programming. So many of you have seen us out in buildings doing things and being involved in it. We, under this model, think we need to be, again, kind of noting what did we observe aligned to the goals in a way that we hadn't in the past. If we participated in a workshop, for example, that a principal ran, my practice was always to give the principal feedback, good or bad feedback about how it went. I wasn't necessarily making a note for evaluative purposes unless it was, well, this went particularly badly. And so I need to do both, the good and the bad, anyone who goes out. So, but there are formal visits that we do that are scheduled where we go to look for evidence of the work around the goals.
Megan, will we use this rubric for our assistant principals as well? This be the same framework?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Are there any other questions?
I had a who question. I mean, I think maybe Dr. McGinley just answered it. Who does the observations of the principals?
I do the elementary, and Dr. Doria works with me on that, and Dr. Marseille does the secondary. And then the assistant principals are done by the principal of the building. Dr. Marseille evaluates the supervisors that report to him. Dr. Doria evaluates supervisors that report to her. I evaluate special education supervisors under this year's model.
This applies not just to principals?
This is designed for principals based on what's done in some other states and loosely based on the Danielson framework. So there are these are not bad domains for a supervisor, but there are some things that are certainly sound more building based than what a supervisor may do. So we'll be modifying it for the supervisors. But this is the model for all certificated administrators in the school district. It's not the model that we'll use for evaluating people in operations and side of things.
Are there any other questions? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm sorry, you're next.
Yes.
Good evening. We had this presentation scheduled for the curriculum committee of the board meeting that enjoyed some snow, so we carried it to this evening because it's rather time sensitive, so we want to make sure that we share it. Nancy Consummate, say that your last name for me.
Akanchia Mesa.
Say
very
Conchia
slowly.
Mesa. And Arthur Mitchell have been working closely this year to build a STEM initiative for K through 12. We have lots of opportunities happening at the secondary level, and we're looking to bring that down to the elementary level, connect with partnerships and universities and many opportunities for students. So this evening, we have one opportunity that we'd like to share for an after-school elementary STEM program that will be 8 weeks long for an hour and a half at each session, and we want to give you an overview of that this time.
Okay, let's see if I know what I'm doing here. Turn, okay. All right, there we go. Okay. So good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present the after-school elementary STEM program. Very, very happy to have the opportunity to provide information about this exciting initiative. So what is STEM? STEM is an interdisciplinary and applied approach that is coupled with real-world, problem-based learning. A STEM education promotes critical thinking, problem-solving, and reasoning skills, and it also supports that meaningful connection between school, community, work, and global issues. STEM experiences promote the higher-level thinking skills on Bloom's taxonomy, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. This graphic shows a generic look at the similarities and differences between the scientific method and the engineering method. The T and E of STEM are generally underdeveloped, and students, as well as many adults, don't have an understanding of the differences between the way that engineers work and scientists work. There is solid evidence to suggest that the fastest growing and highest wage jobs in the future years will be STEM jobs, and that all employees will need to utilize STEM skills in a wide range of industries, not just STEM fields. So where are we at the elementary level as it relates to STEM education? Currently, at the elementary level, the FOSS program has been implemented as the core science resource in grades 1 to 5. The FOSS program does focus more on the scientific method, but it does provide students with many opportunities to engage in the engineering process, to develop solutions to problems, and construct and evaluate models. We also have the Lower Merion Junior First Lego League that is open to all K-3 students, but there is a cost involved. And this year, it will be held on April 5th at Penn Wynn, and it's a 16-team limit with 2 to 6 students per team. That information did go home prior to winter break. Also, in some of the elementary buildings, there are a number of teachers who have implemented science or STEM-like activities beyond the school day. So, the new after-school program, elementary STEM program, will provide yet another opportunity for students to engage in STEM learning and to support and expand the existing programs that we have in place at the elementary. And it will also enhance the engineering component and provide more exposure for some students. And we do need, like Dr. Duria said, there are a number of things going on at the secondary level, and we do need to have more opportunities in the STEM field for our elementary students. The after-school program will also engage more students in the process of the engineering design and bridge that transition between elementary and middle school STEM opportunities. So, when will this program begin? It will be an 8-week program from April 2nd to May 28th, 1 day per week on Wednesdays from 4 o'clock to 5:30 p.m. It will be held at each building. Okay, it will be building-based. Week 9, we plan on bringing all of the students together. It is a Saturday. All students will come together. It will be a showcase, and they will get the opportunity to work together and share what they have done at each of the elementary buildings. It will be open this year to 4th and 5th grade students, and the ratio will be 12 to 15 students to 1 teacher. Busing will be provided for students just like it is for the after-school program, as well as snacks since they are there from 4 to 5:30. The next steps, we need to finalize the student selection criteria and process, because I believe it will be a program that many students will want to participate in. So we need, as a team, Arthur, myself, Dr. Doria, and Dr. Marseille, need to finalize a process and certainly include the principals in that process. So we have a principal meeting next Tuesday, and I will get the input from the principals as well. We want to make it as inclusive and balanced as possible. We need to post the opportunity for the teacher facilitator positions and conduct those interviews. And with Arthur's help, recruit high school students to hopefully help with the facilitation of the program. And it is a later time, so it may be difficult for some, but we're hoping at least 2 per building to help with the program. There will be a full day training from Dr. Jamie Bracey of Temple University for teachers and high school students in March. And she will provide an overview of the program and resources, as well as the training on the 2 programs that will be used and the creation of the data points to evaluate the program. Dr. Bracey is the Director of STEM Education, Outreach, and Research at Temple University College of Engineering, and she's also the founding director of Pennsylvania Math Engineering Science Achievement. She has an extensive expertise in the field and in implementing STEM programs K-12. We will be contracting her services to provide the training to teachers and to develop those data points to measure the success of the program. Yes, and the contract, yes, I wanted to thank you for mentioning that, is under review with the solicitor presently. The 2 programs that will be used are Storybook Theme Park Ride and Alice 3.0. Alice 3.0 is a software program designed to teach programming while students create stories and games. And the Storybook Theme Park is based on a literature piece where students design and develop a model ride for a theme park with specific design and construction standards. The after-school STEM program at each of the 6 elementary schools will cost $12,000 to support approximately 60 students, 60 to 75. It will include the program design, the teacher professional development, the data collection, the culminating event in June, and the evaluation tools to evaluate the effectiveness of the program. So we're looking at the cost coming out of the elementary curriculum budget, and the cost for the teacher, after-school teacher payment would come, we're looking at Title II funds to compensate in that area. So, any questions?
Thank you very much for the presentation. Are there any questions?
I just have a comment. Thank you so much for being able to expose our elementary school students to something like this, because I believe the earlier that our children are exposed to the STEM program, the more likely that they would choose, some of these jobs to go into. My concern is that when you're doing the student criteria, sometimes these students that are very anxious and very hungry are the ones that jump out to you, but you also have those young people that have low self-esteem that put in a program such as this, the sky would be the limit. So I would just encourage you to have something in your criteria to identify those types of young people.
Yes, I agree, thank you.
Jump in for a minute? We discussed that with Dr. Bracy as well, and she has worked with other groups of students, and looking not just at students' grades or what a teacher might think is a student that may be interested, but having, an art contest and an essay contest and an open-ended question so that we can reach students who respond differently to see their interest in this area.
I'm sorry. When we have the conversation with the fourth and fifth, with the principals, one of the determinations, because there may be great interest, is are we focusing on fifth grade instead of fourth and fifth grade to give kids an opportunity? So there are some of those kinds of decisions that are going to have to be made, but there aren't strict academic criteria.
No.
There is interest-based criteria that you would like to be in it. So if you are a fourth or fifth grader, you're in the mix, and we're not going to have some big hoops to jump through in order to get in the program. We have some other programs that we've run in the past where the interest was really high, and we went to the practice of picking names at random. So we really do need to see what the interest level is, and who's available to make this commitment. It is an after-school commitment in the spring. Lots of our kids are committed. It is scheduled on Wednesdays. Lots of kids have religious instruction on Wednesdays. So,
And that date could change, Dr. McGinley.
okay, so we just have to see what we can do.
And it is after the after-school program finishes as well.
I also just wanted to commend you for pushing this forward. I think the FOSS kits and the current LEGO program are great, although that depends on parent volunteers. So it's great to see something that's not volunteer-based after school. So I was just wondering, do you consider this a pilot? And if it's successful, is it something that could be expanded if there is high interest? And my second question was also around the criteria. I agree it should be interest-based. There may be people who view this as kind of an after-school child care option, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it'd be great if, just interest was a key criteria and, that the kids would have to demonstrate that themselves.
And to answer your first question, yes, this is a pilot this year, but we are hoping that to continue it next year and expand it to possibly
great.
even a Saturday program as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. And thank you for bringing it to the education meeting since we were snowed out for or early or late opening on our curriculum meeting day. I did have a question. So are we talking about 10 students per elementary school? Or is it 6? I'm not clear in terms of the numbers that we're looking at.
12 to 15, fourth and fifth together.
Okay.
Yes.
And so could you speak to a little bit more, I know you talked a bit about it, Nancy, in terms of the kinds of things we'll be looking for, and Dr. Dory, you as well, in terms of student interest and how we'll identify. I mean, because our fourth and fifth grade classes are 4 and 5 sections. So I would be a little bit concerned in terms of a number of students showing some interest and genuine interest in how we're going to make those decisions in terms of how they'll have access to a program such as this.
Yeah. And I guess depending on the numbers, we may just end up with doing, focusing on fifth grade this year, so we could expand the number at that grade level.
Okay.
But definitely looking at interest and not basing it on academic performance, so we can open it up to students who may normally not have the opportunities to participate. But looking at interests and principal recommendation, teacher recommendation. There are a lot of factors I think we need to look at and not just the academic piece.
Right. And that's actually part of the work with Dr. Bracy. So
Okay,
once
great.
she's actually on board, it's I think
Right.
one of the first steps is developing that outreach. And what are the different ways, and, as I shared a minute ago, of looking at options of, drawings and open-ended questions and interviews, contests, to really see the interest level, and then move from there to look at the criteria.
Okay, and her contract's under review at the moment?
It's under review.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Maureen.
So there'll be 6 teachers for this
6
program?
teachers, yes.
Okay. And can you tell me, there's a little note here that says pre-post testing. What does success look like, and what do you plan on?
That would be something that Dr. Bracy is going to develop as part of the program, and will be shared with our team prior to the implementation of that pre-post.
The pre-post is content-based, right, to the program, so it's
Yes.
prior knowledge.
Yes.
So that we know where the kids are and we can build the program
And the
on
growth
what they're,
that's
and then
made.
looking at growth over time.
Yes.
It's not pre-post in terms of like academic testing that goes into
No.
the child's record.
No. Lori?
Just one more question. Does gender balance come into play at all in terms of the numbers you're looking for?
Yeah, we definitely would want to see girls represented, because it is a field where girls tend to shy away from, and to get more girls involved in that field early on so that they continue throughout their middle school and high school experiences.
Great, thanks.
I guess I'm very excited about this, but I have some concerns about the selection criteria, and I think the fairest way to really ensure a random group of students is able to benefit is to do a lottery kind of thing, rather than interest, which again can be gendered, the types of projects can be gendered, the principal recommendations can be gendered, or racially motivated, and so just to make it random seems, to me, fairest, and I hope you'll at least consider doing it just by lottery. And then I also had a question about the high school students, because the science high school students are doing Science Olympiad or TSA, and will they be available to do this as well? And how are you going to reach out and advertise? Maybe Doug can tweet it or something to get the high school students.
Mr. Mitchell, could you address that, Mr. Mitchell, about the high school students?
Recruiting high school students to help with the
Could you come up to the mic?
Good evening. We've already started engaging the high school students around volunteerism at the elementary level. We have the science clubs who already do outreach, so we want to tap into those science clubs. At Harriton High School right now, we have the students who are working with the National Society of Black Engineers, and they have also want to volunteer to do something of this nature. So we have, definite student groups who will be open and available to helping out on one Wednesday a week.
Thank you.
Sorry, I just happen to have a techie high schooler, and a lot of her friends aren't interested in clubs. So there may be people that aren't involved in some of these other clubs that are particularly suited to this type of opportunity. So I don't think you'll have trouble finding the people, but it would be nice to expand the net maybe a little bit.
Definitely. I mean, that's our first line of defense, to go to those students who we know are already committed to some type of organization, but we're definitely open for all students who would have interest and would like to help.
Absolutely.
Would there be transportation for the high school students to get to the schools?
We could certainly look into that as well. That's a good question.
Thank you very much. I just have a question about how is this an extension of what we're already teaching in school as part of our, or how does this play with that, or is it divergent from it in either way?
It enhances the engineering component that they're receiving in the classroom. It's just another opportunity to be engaged in that engineering process.
So if they learn something in the regular day, this maybe reinforce it?
Yes.
That's the plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? No? Okay. All right. Again, thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank
This
you.
was great. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, I just want to point out, usually at this meeting, we come with a more complete completed picture, because we've had the conversation with the board members who are at the curriculum committee meeting, and then we usually go back from that meeting and do our final refinements. So it seems like there's some pieces of this that are a little bit unclear, and we will get it clarified, but we just wanted to bring it to your attention to let you know, and we can have a little more conversation about some of this at the curriculum committee meeting, should the weather ever allow it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No, just while we're on the subject of snow and meetings, we have the facilities committee meeting scheduled for Thursday morning. Right now, they're saying 8 to 10 inches of snow for this area. So if we're not able to meet on Thursday morning, is it our plan to move the meeting to Friday morning?
As of right now, correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Same time.
May I ask a question? We have to advertise it.
We talked to Ken about, as long as we post it and it's the next day.
Great.
Yeah, the
Okay.
solicitor's already reviewed that piece of it. We can do it because there's no time to advertise it. And so we're going to announce it in advance that if the meeting is canceled, it's moved from Thursday to Friday. And we'll post that on the website tomorrow that says, if the meeting is canceled due to weather, or school is delayed or canceled on Thursday, that the meeting will occur on Friday. There are a number of timely issues that we need to address in that meeting, and that needs to occur, as does the meeting on the 18th. No matter what happens next, we have to have the meeting on the 18th because we're bound by the state regulations to approve the preliminary budget.
Correct. The 19th is the last date. So if there is snow again, we need to, can't have a meeting on the 18th, we will continue the meeting and have it on the 19th.
So hopefully we're fine on the 18th. But the meeting is Tuesday, not Monday next week because of the holiday, and hopefully we get that in and get the preliminary budget approved.
All right. Is there anyone who would like to speak to either an agenda or a non-agenda item? Please come in and sign in with Ms. LaPera, and then state your name and where you live, and there's a 3-minute limit.
Road, lights just went on our street today, 7 days. Two things. This morning when I came past the high school, when the students cross at the light here, the snow is not shoveled, so when they have to come in onto the sidewalk, they have to come over a huge barrage of snow and ice. I saw a gentleman shoveling snow this morning in the front walk. It would be good if he could just clear that space where they would walk across.
Are you talking about Owen Road, the corner at Owen Road?
I'm talking about Church.
Okay.
No, I know the Owen Road. I'm talking about crossing at Church.
Okay.
And that's not clear at
All
either
right.
side. The other thing I just wanted to mention was the Lego competition and the cost factor, and if there could be some funding for the students who could not afford to participate and could be included rather than excluded.
And we do that actually, Ms. Jenkins, very routinely. The HSAs at each school does provide additional assistance for programs that we operate for providing it to students with free and reduced lunch. There's a little bit of difficulty sometimes for kids who don't qualify for free and reduced lunch, where the family doesn't have available disposable income to pay, but that criteria is set up for the kids among us with the greatest need. But we do know there are times when kids don't participate, aren't qualified for free or reduced lunch, and when we know it because there's been a conversation, we try to provide a workaround for it, and we encourage parents, if their child is interested in any program, to have a conversation directly with the school principal or with the school counselor, and the district will look for funds, even if they're not on the free and reduced
Yeah, it's
list.
often the middle of the road that falls through the cracks
Right.
kind of thing, you know.
Right, and you know, at different times, families find themselves in all kinds of circumstances. We really ask people just to speak up and have a confidential conversation with the principal or the counselor so that we can try to be of assistance.
So when that notice goes out, that could be included in the notice.
And I didn't see that notice, but we do try to do that on a number of notices.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? No? Okay. Well, with that, we are adjourned, and hopefully there's no more snow.